Lafia.
Laughing.
Look, as soon as we get started, let me turn off my notifications because, baby, oh my goodness. And yeah, I'm not cutting this out. Okay. Anywho, Alafia again. Welcome to this Journey Called Life podcast with Ọṣun and
Hi.
yes, y'all, my beautiful sister. Hi. So listen, the subject for today is abandonment. Okay? It's abandonment. Yes. Okay. The things, all the things that come, it looks different at different points in our lives. We're going to start with description. So let's go over to our handy dandy Google. Google says abandonment refers to the voluntary relinquishment, desertion, or forsaking of something or someone without the intent to return or reclaim them. Its meaning and consequences vary significantly depending on the context. How we are talking about it today is psychological context, abandonment issue. In mental health, abandonment refers to a deep seated fear or actual experience of being left, discarded, or emotionally neglected by loved ones. Emotional abandonment, feeling emotionally neglected, unloved, or invalidated by partners or caregivers, even when physically present. Abandonment wounds, childhood trauma or attachment issues that can lead to clinginess, anxiety, and panic in adult relationships. Self abandonment, a behavioral pattern where an individual abandons their own identity, boundaries, and needs to please others and prevent abandonment. That's what Google says. That's what Google says. So, excuse me. Um, Really quickly, how has abandonment showed up in your life, if at all?
Wasn't prepared for this one. Um, I will tell you that personally, um, abandonment. I have abandoned myself, um, especially when I had been in relationships. So I recognize quickly that when I'm in relationships, I tend to focus on my partner and their feelings, emotions, likes, dislikes, those kind of things, right? And then I'm a giver. So because I am a giver, I am looking to appease whoever that subject may be, right? So um, I recognized really early on, I recognized what I was doing in my early 30s, and that's when I began to realize that even in relationships, you still have to identify who you are as an individual and what your likes and dislikes are, and then making sure that there is a separation between the title. And I tend to use the word the title constantly because we are so many different people to others, right? So I recognize that self-abandonment is something that I needed to work on to make sure that I maintain an identity of who I am, even though I'm in a relationship, whether that relationship is a um, healthy one or an unhealthy one, and understanding what that looks like. So self-abandonment is something that I worked on in my lifetime, and I will never ever do that again. Once I really started to focus on, what do I like? You know what I mean? Like I'm buying this all the time, but I'm not buying it for me. I'm buying it for someone else, right? What do I like? I like to go, I'm going to let's say the movies, but honestly, the movies can be a little too loud, but I'm going because that's what someone else wants to do, right? So, the understanding what it is that I like and my needs assisted me into no longer abandon who I am. So that's how it showed up for me. Now, I will tell you, and we're going to really get into this conversation, but most of the time, when someone has abandonment issues, it's because of a childhood traumatic situation that has.
Hold that thought before you go
Yes.
past that. Because we gonna dig into that. We definitely gonna dig into
Yes.
that.
Okay. All right.
But because you're because you picked, because for you it was self abandonment.
Yes.
I wanna
Yes.
sit with that for,
Mhm.
because I agree. I agree in my own life. Okay, I
Mhm.
am a
Mhm.
recovering people pleaser,
Mhm. Okay. Okay.
and it actually is going to tie into the childhood
Yes.
stuff too.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I'm a recovering people pleaser. And that's the term that I would like to go with moving forward, even with my clients that come and share certain things with me, because we have the choice to, um, we have the choice to whether or not we want to continue along that path or make a
Mhm.
change, right?
Yeah.
So for me, with the self abandonment, like hi, I did put other people's needs, wants, and desires before my own. And it it was traumatic for me in some ways. However, the hardest pill that I had to swallow is I chose it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I let it
Exactly.
happen,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Mhm.
In relationships, I partook in a lot of things. We're not going to go into specifics because we never know who's listening. However, and I'm not trying to protect anybody either, so don't get that
Mhm.
thought. It's just, some people who are younger or not experiencing certain areas, we're not trying to, we want them to get the message. We don't want to scare them away.
Yeah.
Everybody's experience is different. However, um, putting other people's needs ahead of your own can show up in different ways. Like, for example, being tired, being exhausted, and someone else wanting to go out and do things, and they're saying, "Oh, well, you never do things with me. Oh, you okay with doing stuff with other people, or oh, you do this, that, and the third, or whatever the case may be." Listen, if you're tired, you're tired. Period. And if the person that is calling on you to do something with them, um, if they're not taking that into consideration, because 9 times out of 10, you look how you feel when you're exhausted, and they can
Mhm.
see it, but they don't care. And when you drag yourself out of your needing to rest and restore, or just into an uncomfortable situation in general, they don't care. So that's how we abandon ourselves when we say, okay, well, yeah, I know I'm tired. Oh, it's been a while since I hung out with so and so. Or even in the case of finances, I know I don't really have this to give, but let me go on ahead and give it because of who this person is in my life. And then when it's time for you to pay your bills, you ain't got the money and they ain't got the reimbursement. So, that's abandonment. It looks different, but it's abandoning yourself. Um, whew, the boundaries that come into play when we start putting ourselves first, the healthy boundaries that are needed Of course, they're going to make those who don't really care uncomfortable. Of course, it's going to make those who care but don't understand uncomfortable. That's a them problem.
Yes.
You're not responsible for them,
No.
children included. You're not
Yep.
responsible for their um their wants because that's what it comes down to. If you are well within your right of taking care of and providing the needs that you need that you are supposed to provide, that's that's all that's required. The wants, those are extras.
Those are
Wants
extras.
are not anybody else's responsibility but that individual's own. Okay? That goes for work too, people.
Yep.
That
Yep.
goes for work.
Yep.
You have a set schedule. What needs to be done in that time frame gets done. Anything extra, you need to either be compensated or you need to say no.
Yep. Or say you
Period.
need help.
Or ask for help. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Um, Boundaries are required to prevent self-abandonment. Um, I have been in a situation where I was asked to participate in things that were not necessarily a desire of mine. Um, and I just did it because of who the person asking was. And then later it became a problem and was thrown in my face. You wanted to do this, person. You wanted to do this. I did it because you asked, Mr. or Mrs. Person. I did it because you asked. And now you're throwing it in my face like I was the problem. It was your idea. I did it because you asked. That was abandonment of myself because I knew that they wouldn't be able to handle the request that they had made. I knew it. I knew it in my soul, but I did it anyways. Do I regret it? No, it was an experience. It was a lesson that I learned, and I won't ever do it again unless it is my choice to do it, right? I won't abandon myself anymore. I refuse, and I don't care who's uncomfortable about it because I have to deal with the consequences of my own actions, my thoughts, my feelings. I have to heal that shit. So, if I don't want to do it, if I choose to do it, like my dear sister has said on many occasions, if she has chosen to do something, it is because she has already mentally prepared herself for any
Yes.
and all consequences that are going to come about the decision that has been made. I'm okay with it. If I'm okay with it, baby, I'm doing it. Straight face,
Yep. Yep.
straight face. And mm, outside opinions don't matter
Mm.
anymore to me. And I don't have to explain nothing to nobody because it was my choice. That's my explanation. It was my choice. I thought it through. That's all that matters. How we got to self abandonment, because my
Mhm.
dear sister was about to go into childhood stuff. How we got into a place of self abandonment, a lot of times we learn it in childhood
Mhm.
when we are silenced, when we are corrected because it made an adult uncomfortable because they were wrong and the child was right. Um, because we were in, may have been in abusive households. It comes up through childhood. If you are supported properly as a child, 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, you're not going to have to deal with that self abandonment as an adult, I feel, because you've had instilled in you what needed to be instilled in you. Um, and if you're not missing certain things as a child, you're not looking for them in other people as you get older, if that makes sense. That's how I feel from my experiences. Um, but yes, if you are like, for instance, when the example of little girls looking for daddy's love, right? Because there's a special dynamic between daughters and their dads.
Yes.
If you have a little girl that's looking for daddy's love, she'll tend to look for love in all the wrong places from all these wrong men, or um yeah, all from all the, for the wrong in the wrong places. It could, I mean, they could be looking for it in women too. I mean, just in their in just in relationships, they're looking in the wrong place to fix what void they have, right? Instead of going to therapy or finding someone that can help them to, correct the thought process behind it, right? Um, just as an example. Um, Also, boys with their moms. There's a dynamic. I was reading, I read it to Jenny yesterday, and I was just like, what the heck? That whole dynamic with some mothers and their sons.
Yes, ma'am.
When I read this, I was like, the woman is sick. Her, and really quickly, her post was talking about how she hopes that one of her sons is gay, so that she doesn't lose her place in his life, or maybe if they do, all three of them marry women, that the mothers of those women are dead, so that she doesn't lose her seniority. And I'm like, girl, what the hell is you talking about? You are sick. That's sick. That dynamic of where the male child is made to be the man of the house and is responsible for certain male responsibilities in the house. Now, I'm hoping that they're not sleeping with their sons. Even though we know the world that we live in, there's some crazy other dynamics too, but don't do that, because another woman, another woman is going to have to deal with the foolishness that you done put in this poor boy's head. Like, mothers, mothers, single mothers, please stop harming your boys. Stop.
Psychologically, please and thank you.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Because that woman, oh my God, she just, oh, my whole body, I felt like I needed to scrub my skin off just for reading that post, because that was ridiculous. Um, but yeah, so childhood traumas move into adulthood, of course, and then in regards to abandonment specifically, when you when you don't have that support growing up, and you keep experiencing situations that don't make you feel loved, that don't make you feel important. Let me be specific. My younger sister, on my mama's side, my younger sister, when she was born, I was 5. I remember her coming home one day And well, from the hospital, I remember coming home and I was really curious about this new baby. I love doll babies. I took care of my doll babies very well. I cradled them, I loved them, kissed them, talked to them, everything. I wanted to do the same thing with my little sister. I was told, don't touch her. Why not? She's a baby. Why can't I touch her? I was made to feel like she was this oh so precious thing, and then I was kind of like pushed to the wayside, right? That hurt me. I remember that to this day, like it happened yesterday. And then as I got older, I hated her. I felt like her being there was a problem. We bickered, we rarely got along. On the off chance that we were getting along, it was very short lived. There was not a full 24 hours that we were cool. I think the most peaceful that we may have been with each other growing up was when we were asleep, to the point where I told her that I hated her and I didn't want her here. And I tried to push her down the steps and she told on me and I got a beating. But I still felt the way I felt. Um, those kind of things go with you into adulthood. And as an adult, once I realized what was going on, because after both of us started having children, I was seeing the same thing replay in our children. And her children got more attention. My children got left by the wayside. And I had to talk with her. And I said, hey, let's fix this. We adults. And I said, what she did was she came to me and she said, have you noticed that mommy does this, that, and the third? And I said, yeah, she's been doing it all her life. She did that between me and you. She does that between our kids, and now she's doing it between your kids. I said, it's something I'm used to. I don't pay no attention. I just stay the hell away from her, right? I said, I apologize for hating you all these years because now I realize it wasn't you. It was that was my first step into healing my abandonment issues because I had to notice the issue, the real issue. And it wasn't anything that I did, had nothing to do with me. Nothing. I wasn't a bad child. I didn't try to hurt her when she was a baby. That wasn't until she was much older, like in middle school. But, I just, that was the beginning of me correcting my abandonment because I felt my abandonment issues because I felt abandoned as a child. I was essentially abandoned as a child in that aspect. What's your take on the childhood stuff,
Yeah.
trauma?
Yes. So, in my experience, and in my relationships and my experience, when I say relationships, I'm not just talking platonic, right? So, what I've learned is typically the abandonment issue comes from a parent that is treating their children differently, and that was a perfect example of that. And usually that trauma is passed down through generation. Perfect example is what you shared with your mom and your sister. I've seen it. I've seen it, but I have not been on the end of it. It comes out in over dependence in a relationship. So when you're in a relationship with a love with a non-platonic relationship and your partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, right? You name it. Even partner. Well, I was just focused on non-platonic. You find that the one who has abandonment issues are typically glued at the hip with the other partner. and you truly depend on that person to provide you the reassurance that you're looking for. You sometimes can't even make a decision without that other person's input because you don't trust your own intuition. Um, and then sometimes it come out as trust issues. So someone who has been abandoned, they build up this wall around their emotions. And so as soon as someone shows, love, care, support, honesty, all these other kind of all the good things you want, right? You overanalyze every single thing. Um, and you feel like that person wants something from you, right? Constantly, constantly, constantly. So unfortunately, that means that you have a hard time knowing when to trust anyone. And then you become, super distant. So anytime there is some sort of emotional connection, you kind of step away from it because you begin to self-sabotage at that stage of the game. The other thing I've seen with that self-sabotage, like I said, things start to get real serious, and you're like, yeah, no, you want something from me. You're going to take something from me that I'm not ready to give. But the honesty is that's all you really need. You really need someone to give. You need someone to pour into you and give to you and show you that you are indeed worthy of all the things that you lacked as a child from others when you should have been receiving it the entire time. And so, self-sabotage becomes the number one thing that you do. Um, and then the other thing is when you're in a relationship and the relationship is unhealthy, and then you not recognizing the unhealthiness because you're getting something, you're not alone, and you stay. So you begin to settle for the unhealthy relationship because anything is better than absolutely nothing. Um, so, and then on top of all the things, when a healthy relationship does indeed have a hiccup, argument, disagreement, um, conflict, whatever you want to call it, you begin to avoid the conversation. You begin to avoid anything that is going to peel back the um, trauma, right? The trigger of the trauma that you have experienced as a child, even as an adult. Don't it can happen at any given moment in your relationship, right? You can have someone who has been, you can have someone that has been in an extremely healthy relationship, two-parent household, all the love and all the support, and as an adult, because, well, as a child, when I say child, I'm talking grade schools, right? Because in grade schools, kids can be mean. They can be mean. And you're not used to this type of behavior because you come from a very loving relationship. You find that people are picking at you to make you feel bad, right? And
Hmm.
then you
Hmm.
carry that and you go home, you get in front of your parents, you explain all the things, and you fear going back to school because those kids are picking, but you're not speaking up about what's transpiring. So you can begin to internalize some of someone else's childhood traumas because they get to school and begin to pour that out into other kids. And when they go back home, they're getting, the beatings and the yellings and the screamings
Hmm.
and all the avoidance and all the things. And so, not being able to emotionally regulate yourself is something that I think will probably assist in understanding traumatic situations, but have to be willing to learn it's a deficiency inside of yourself. So emotional intelligence, I think, is one of the things that we as adults need to learn how to master. That's number one. Okay.
Absolutely.
And being able to regulate your own emotion is something you need to figure out fast. And I say that with urgency because for us as adults who do have children or grandkids or adult children, you need to learn how to recognize when you are in the wrong. Your emotions are taking lead and control, and you need to reel it in. That's number one. And then once you're able to do that, be honest with yourself. That's another hard thing that as adults we have a hard time grasping is being honest with ourselves. We live in a society where lying is something we do all the damn time. And what do I mean by that? We lie about everything. We present to the
How you
world on
feeling?
social
Good, but
lies,
really feeling like shit. My
shit.
this ain't right. My that ain't right. But you don't want to
Lies.
tell nobody. Girl,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that,
Yeah.
that, and so I get it. We one of the things I tend to not say a lot is the term good morning, and it's just because of the word morning has a double meaning. I'll say good day, greetings, whatever the case may be, but um, lying consistently because of a casual conversation, I think is bullshit. You need to learn how to figure out a way to be able to communicate effectively and honestly and truthfully, and you tie it into your regular day, you will prevent yourself from lying to yourself. So when you hear a lie, you don't chew it up, you don't eat it up, you don't swallow it up. You have some level of discernment, which is very important in this world, and being able to be honest about how you feel, your emotions, emotional intelligence will assist in this abandonment issue that you may happen. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to talk about my relationship with daddy, right? You would think because I didn't meet my father until I was in my 20s, early 20s, that I would have some sort of abandonment issue. I don't. I don't. Um, I was lucky enough where I definitely wanted to meet him. I I never lacked a father figure. That was number one. I always had a father figure. So I also have always been the kind of person that saw through people, even as a child. I knew a lie when I heard it. I knew the truth when I heard it, when I felt it and saw it. But my sister, I have three older sisters, and I say older, I do mean older, 10, 9, 8 years older than me, who was able to see the relationship that daddy and mom had together, and they knew what kind of guy he was. So they really explained to me who my father was. While my mother may not have been able to communicate the things because she was emotionally raw still after all those years, given that she is a very strong-willed woman who moved forward, spoke whatever her truth was, um, did all the things she wanted to do in life. She had a moment of vulnerability for a change, right? And then got a relationship with this guy who turned her world upside down. And while the relationship did not last, it was not forgettable either. So to be able to see my face every day, and then there was moments where she was like, "You look like your daddy," but she would never talk about this guy. You know what I mean? So my sisters flat out was like, "Yeah, nah, this is your daddy. You look like him. You talk like him." All the things. And so while I didn't get to really have this conversation when I was to my 23, 24. While I do remember meeting him when I was a child, I do remember that meeting, and it was like meeting a friend. It wasn't strange for me. My mother's like, "This is your father," and I'm like, "Hey, daddy." And we had this conversation, and it was very easy. I never forgot it, and that was to that picture that you saw years later, and I always thought it was you. But
Girl, get out of my head.
but I didn't feel abandoned. And so when I became, as an adult, we had this conversation, me and him, and I understand why I didn't feel abandoned because it was honestly the best choice at the time that was made. And he flat out was like, "You know what? I wasn't ready. I wasn't in the place to be what I needed to be for you. My only dreams and hope was that we could definitely find each other again and be able to create and build a relationship." And so, because, I just didn't feel abandoned. So I didn't have that as a um, traumatic experience. Mine came from truly pleasing the ones I cared for and loved and, appreciated. And I'm a Pisces, right? So I want to make sure that your world is dreamlike, right? And so to do that, I began to mimic what my partner um, would like. And so I was losing myself in the process. So, once I recognized that immediately, boundaries was a thing and no was a full sentence. And follow through on what my word was is what I did. So regardless of how much love and affection and care and support I provided, I ain't gonna lose myself in this process because I'm responsible for me and you're responsible for you. And so if I said don't do that or this, I meant that. I followed through. I don't believe in threats. I believe in promises. So, I think that unfortunately, as children, we are indeed looking to our caregivers, parents, to provide, safety and support and a help and support and all the things, right? And when those individuals who are raising us cannot or provide very detrimental examples for us to live by, and then we become adults, and then we do the same for our children, we're continuously this cycle, right? And until someone just realized, okay, this isn't how this is supposed to go, right? This is not okay. But first you have to recognize the lie. And that's where the problem comes. We don't recognize the lie because it's normal and that's not okay. So when you run up in a relationship from someone who loves you and supports and cares for you and recognizes, abandonment issues and, all the things, and then when they come to you and tell you, hey, that thing you do, that's unhealthy, you know. That's not healthy. Um, hey, that's not okay. That thing you do when we get in an argument and you got to be glued to me, that's your fear of me running away from you.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
codependency, and that's not okay. Or that thing you do when we get into an argument and then you try to change the subject and avoid the topic, that's
Mhm.
that's not okay. Or
Right.
that thing you do when you ask a question that is literally just a question and you spiral out of control because you read more into it. That's not okay. Uh, it's when you become a mirror to
Mhm.
someone because you see through them and you see all of the traumatic triggers, um, and you're trying to help someone, literally trying to help someone, it may get ugly, and that's okay. I would rather it get ugly than to not have the conversation because no one wants to be told that they have things to fix within themselves, especially by an adult, especially when your life looks amazing from the outside and you tend to
Mhm.
help other people naturally and you feel like you got your shit together. But honestly,
Mhm.
on the inside, your child, the child in you is screaming for attention and affection to fix something that's broken. That's not okay. You cannot avoid um, healing. You can't avoid healing. There is no way to avoid it because we're imperfect beings, all of us, all of us. And if you do read your Bible, you will know that the entire Bible is truly about healing, fixing, addressing that you are not perfect, that we are imperfect beings. The whole purpose behind the sacrifice was because we all live imperfect. You know what I'm saying? So the point of the matter is you cannot walk around in this world thinking that your shit don't stink
Right.
and that you have all the answers
Right.
and that you don't have nothing fixed and that, you know, it's just it's asinine to believe that you
Very.
can. But yeah, everyone at some point has some form of abandonment issues. You just got to put a name to it and repair it. And so every time someone triggers that in you, number one, you need to set those boundaries in place. I don't care what that relationship is to you, whether that is a parent or a child or a friend or a spouse, whatever, you know, you do need to say, hey, if we're going to continue this relationship, this thing here, you need to understand this one thing about me. And this is a trigger for me. And I would appreciate if you respect that boundary in our relationship. And if someone crosses that boundary one time too many, and I do mean one time too many, not two, not three, one. But once you have voiced what your boundary is and the reason behind the boundary you put in place, because the boundaries are to protect yourself. That's what they're there for. They're not there to modify somebody else's behavior, it's to modify yours. Because if you want to truly heal from a trauma, you got to first recognize what it is, where it comes from, and how it's showing up in your life, and then how to repair it. And once you finally have repaired it emotionally, it no longer impacts you. When someone else is coming at you to trigger you because they have yet to figure out their own shit, you're able to control your responses to. But in order to do that, you also have to have some level of emotional intelligence about who you are. And so I think the problem is we got a lot of people running around in this world that doesn't even have emotional intelligence of who they are in the first place. And they firing it off and triggering everybody.
Yep.
So
Yep.
people need to be a walking
Yep.
warning sign. And there is no warning sign because you don't have any discernment that teaches you in the first place. Good topic of conversation because this thing can get
Wow.
deep. Uh,
Okay.
pass it over to you, my dear sister, because you did open the door for this topic. So I think we really need to discuss what does that healing of the abandonment looks like for you.
So for me, once I started identifying where the issue lies, um, and I've made this clear before, I'm not opposed to therapy. My first time going to therapy, let me back up before I go into that part. My first time sitting in front of any therapist was with my mother. It was her therapist. It was her psychologist, therapist. I don't know what the title was. But anyways, I sat in front of this white man, right? And my mother said nothing. Nothing. I sat across from this guy. My mother sat to my right. And all she did was shake her head up and down. When I tell you this man told me as a child, I'm a teenager, a young teenager, that I was the cause of all of her hell in her life, and she just sat there and did this, I said, yo, okay. I took that information and I went and told my bonus. I told him what was said, and I heard them in the bedroom, and he laid into her ass. He cussed her out every which way from Sunday. You understand me? Because if there is any parent that actually believes that the reason that your whole entire life is screwed up is because of your child, I mean, the way it was broken down to me, y'all, is that my being here was the only thing that ever screwed up my mother's life. Not
Mm,
her childhood, not any of her behaviors, none of that. It was me. It was all me. I know that there is some accountability on that provider's part. However, I don't have nothing to do with him. My relationship wasn't with him, it was with my mama.
Right.
And as a person healing through your own shit, you are responsible. You are responsible for making that shit make sense. When I went to therapy for myself, I was already married the first time. I had 3 children. And my therapist was like, first things first, you need to find some time for you. I said, well,
Mm-hmm.
I can't because of this, that, third. And I gave all the excuses. She said, that's not what you came to me for. We're going to start with 1 hour, 1 hour a week, in addition to me going to see her. You need to carve out 1 hour a week where you sit with your book, if you want to sip your wine, whatever that looks like for
Right.
you. So I said, okay. I went home. I talked to my husband at the time. I said, hey, for 1 hour every Sunday, I want to just sit in the living room, lay on my shades, read my book, and sip on one glass of wine. Because I'm not an alcoholic, right?
Right.
And she's not in my family, but me, I don't like the taste of alcohol. But there was this one wine that I liked. Oh, it was so delicious. But I knew that I didn't want more than one because I didn't want to be like everybody else. So I did it the first week. By the second week, him and all 3 kids, mommy, 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 baby, baby, baby. In that hour, like y'all had me all day long. I told my therapist, she said, now you need to leave the house.
That's right.
I was like, but I don't want to leave my house. Well, now you need to.
Yeah.
That's the only way this thing is going to work. Now you need to leave the house. I appreciated her for that. Did I do what she told me to do? It was hard. It was a challenge for me to incorporate that time for myself where I was not taking care of anybody but me. It is a process, guys. It's a process. Then the next time I went into therapy wasn't until around the time I met my wife. That was very strange because the first time I was married, this time I'm not married, but this person wants to be supportive. That self, look, girl, I'm telling you. I was like, what are you doing? You're supporting this? I was seeing my therapist virtually because this was right after COVID. I was seeing my therapist virtually and she would be in Baltimore with me. And she would leave. She would go in the next room. She would put earphones on just to give me privacy. What? You're not trying to be nosy? You're not at the door listening? No, this is your thing. This is what you need for you. Have your privacy. That was strange. And I thought something was wrong with it for a long time. But where do you come from? But yeah, like that was strange. But I did a lot of healing with that therapist. And it didn't stop there. I've been to two since I've been with her. And I met her the end of 2020. So that first therapist was in 2021. We weren't married. We weren't even engaged. I knew she liked me though. I knew she was going to propose. And that one knew too. That one right there laughing, she knew too. She said, "Oh, just have fun." Whatever. But here I am. Anyway, so I go through my healing journey with my new therapist, who was a male, by the way, which was surprising to me that we even fit together because of the trauma that I was healing through. At so, um, but that was really that man that opened some things. And mind you, at the same time, I was going through my awakening, my healing journey, initiation later that year. It was a lot of things going on. So, 2021, that was a lot. But I appreciate all of it. When I finished with that round of therapy, I had another therapist who was a female who respected my spirituality, as he did too. Respected my spirituality. She was very open, very attentive to my needs. Again, my wife was supporting me and still strange, still an adjustment, but more appreciated.
Mhm.
Therapy, if you have the right person to work with, and you have to interview your therapist, your doctors, just like if you were going to a job interview, if you're the interviewee, if you're the interviewee, viewee, whatever, y'all know what I'm trying to say. You need to ask the interviewer questions about the business that you're not aware of, how things, how they manage certain things, because you need to know if you even want to be there. Granted, they might like good, look good on paper, commercially, and all that stuff, but you
Mhm.
want to know about the inner workings. Like, am I going to be comfortable at this place? You have a job too, right? So you interview your therapist, right? And see where they're standing, how they work, and things of that nature. It's important because you need to know, one, are they going to be able to help you with the issue that you're going to them for in the first place? Are you familiar with it? What is your experience in it? How can you support me? Because I'm not going to waste my time talking to somebody that can't help me move through this process. That's waste. And don't be paying out of pocket. You're wasting money and your time. You can't get none of that shit back, right?
Mhm.
I know
Mhm.
you can't for sure. But so anyways, I'm working with this second or third, this is my third therapist. I'm working with this third therapist, and she's like, she's giving me the questions. I got homework. Even with the second therapist, I had homework. Um, I had guidance, like um in it ooh, I can't even think of the word, but it was really a blessing. It really was. It was a blessing, and it was what exactly I needed at that time. And I'm going to also add, when I was working with my godmother too, because she um is a certified hypnotist, and she did not hypnotist, that's not the right word. She is a past life regression therapist. Okay, so I would say I've had four then in that case. She helped me through some things as well. When I first started working with her, I did go through past life regression therapy with her. And I was able to see, because I do believe in reincarnation, I was able to see another life in the past that explained some things to me, because I was I understand a little bit more about myself than what I thought I was going to understand. And then it also showed me my future based on of what I was doing at that time, the steps that I was taking for my healing journey at that time. And damn, if that future glimpse, it has come to fruition. It has. It is. I'm living it, and thank God. Okay. Um, I'm not against therapy. I'm also going to say that having healthy relationships, once I realized what they were, what they look like, how they feel, that also ties into your therapy, because that support system is very important. Very important. I'm telling you, if I didn't have the support that I had from my wife doing those two therapists, I really don't think I would be as far along as I am today. People are put in your life for a reason, and once you accept the help from the other side, it helps you to flourish a lot faster. Um, because you have the support that you need. You're more open and willing to do the work because you have the support that you need. And you're not being judged in your support system. You're being supported. It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. So, therapy, y'all. Get a good find a good therapist that can work with you on the issues that you are aware of. And in meeting with them, they help you to uncover other things that you may need to take a look at and reassess, or just going ahead and dig in and start just making the changes, like doing it, right? Huge, huge. Um, that that's how I was able to come to terms with fixing these abandonment issues and still working on them because I just realized um, that I was angry with someone for the last few years. I was angry with someone that had a very special place in my life along my spiritual journey, um, because what did we say it was called? Attachment?
Over dependent issues.
Over dependency. Yes, that's how it came up. People are brought into your life for a reason. And that does not necessarily mean that they're supposed to be here to stay past that season that they're here for. They have a purpose, and we have to be willing and open to allowing them to continue along their journey and not holding them for ourselves. And I was asked yesterday, I don't know when y'all gonna see this, but I was asked yesterday from this recording, had I forgiven that person? And I said, oh yeah, absolutely. And I noticed that I had forgiven that person or released my anger, I should say. Released my anger towards that person because they didn't do anything wrong. They did what they were supposed to do in leaving for me to come into my full self, into my full potential because I was leaning on them too hard. So I was angry because I wasn't ready to let them go. I thought they were a permanent fixture. See? So I had let go of that anger. I don't know. It's been a few months now. Quite a few months. Yeah, quite a few months now. And I realized I was like, oh, I'm not angry no more. Nice. This feels good because you don't know if you don't know, right? But you notice the difference when you stop lying to yourself. How do you feel
There
about
you
that
go.
person? Oh, they all right. Are they really all right? Why they all right? Because if they just all right, then why you say it like that? No,
Exactly.
I'm great. I'm good. I'm very good. Yeah, that's how I feel. Yep, therapy in all its different forms. Massage, Reiki, talk, psychological, all the things. Just wellness, holistic wellness all around helps. And a lot of people wear a lot of different hats throughout that process. So, yes, all of that helps therapy and all of its different hats that it wears.
You brought
How
up
about you?
therapy. You brought up therapy, and I immediately thought about two therapists that I worked with when I was a teenager. My very first job when I was 16. Um, I had the pleasure of working and going to school at the same time and receiving credits. Um, I'll never forget that. And I worked in the EAP department for an insurance company, first job, right? And in the EAP department, I was responsible for entering medical charts, you know, 10 key. And I'm going to save their names because I have yet to find them as adults. So I don't know. I never looked them up. I probably should, but I'm going to share their names because they were intricate fixtures. Well, not permanent fixtures, obviously, but they assisted me in understanding people more and recognizing a lot of things because I'm a very observant individual. And so they assisted me in helping myself in ways that I didn't recognize I needed the support. And Patricia Hogan, that's her name. And back then she was an LCSW. And then it was Mark Deering. Both of them worked, they rotated their time in the office. And they did have sessions and all the things. And I worked with both of them. And they identified things in me without even asking. They just said it. And I recognized immediately those things in myself and worked through them. But it was just the casual conversations that we both had that helped me tremendously. Now, who would have thought at 16 years old, I'd be working in the EAP departments with two therapists, right? And they helped. They really helped me in ways just in casual conversation to identify a lot of things. And I just want to say thank you. So if anybody know them, let you know. Let the girl know where you found them. This is back when I was living in Florida. And they
Yeah.
both were in Jacksonville at the time. So I don't know if they still are. Maybe one day I'll look them up and see. But they truly, truly helped me. So I'm an advocate for therapy. I've been to therapy a few times in my life as an adult, and that's what assisted me in identifying self-sabotaging, self-abandonment, and how to work through that. Therapy is one of the best things you can probably involve in your self-care, especially if you have really recognized that you need help because no one on this earth does. You need help. I get being very independent, and I'm an independent person, but I do know when to ask for help. And that came from Patricia, who immediately saw that I tried to do it all. And she said, it's okay to ask for help. It was just a random. And it was something I never forgot. And as an adult, I, I do not turn down support. I am an advocate for support because if I don't have to do it all, I'm cool with
Mm-hmm.
that. It's not about if I can, it's about why do I have to. I'm not alone. Why not be able to lean in on some people that are looking to see me succeed, right? So asking for help it lets you know that you care about your performance. I don't care how else you
Yeah.
spill that. People advocate for doing it all. I could do it all. Sure, I could do it all. I don't want to do it all. If I got people that's willing to jump in and provide me support, then so be
Right.
it. And sometimes you need someone who really doesn't know you at all to be able to come in and give you guidance. So it's okay to get help. It's okay. It's okay that someone is trying to assist you on this thing called life and this journey on life, and they really looking to support you. And sometimes that does require additional work from yourself. And you really want to see the improvement. That journaling down gonna help you figure out where
Mm-hmm.
got lost in the process. To really take a look at on
Mm-hmm.
the inside and say, okay, what do I need to really work on to help my development? And you never stop growing, you never stop learning, and you never stop developing something within yourself. So constantly being able to check in and be honest about that is huge. So obviously we are huge supporters of therapy in all forms, whether it's mental or physical. You should do that because I think that's the best healing that you could possibly do. Um, Man, it's a lot. This is one of those topics. Look, it's one of those topics that you can go on and on and on about. But
Yes.
definitely, just recognize immediately, what will cause abandonment to transpire in your life, and it's usually very traumatic. Even a death can cause you to have
Yeah.
abandonment issues that you don't know how to repair. And honestly, it starts with looking in to understand why that loss triggered you so bad that you have now abandoned something within yourself. Whether that is you abandon everyone around you or you abandon yourself, or you are treating someone completely different, which triggers abandonment issues in them. But typically, it always starts with you and understanding that if someone left, they left because they had to, not because you did something wrong. And I think sometimes understanding what that means, right? What that really looks like, and the people you're in a relationship with, because were they healthy for you in the first place? And so when they left, was it really a good thing that they left? You know what I mean? And is it now
Right,
that
right.
you have a fear of
Hmm.
being alone? And if you have a fear of being alone, that's a whole other conversation that we can talk about. But have a whole
Yeah,
other.
that's a whole nother conversation.
But I think this is a good topic of conversation. But I think the catalyst, the opposite of self-abandonment or abandonment issues, is honestly understanding your self-worth, right? Um, Understanding your self-worth is a complete fighter against abandonment issues, and recognizing that you are whole regardless of what someone else might think of you. So, that self-speech is very important when you feel the creeping of self-abandonment coming upon you. You got to learn how to fight back at it, that emotion. So, that emotional intelligence, once again, I'm going to always come back to that, right? When it comes to self-healing or healing journeys, that emotional intelligence is something that you're going to have to figure out what that looks like within yourself. And in the process, not lie to yourself as well, right? And you recognize when, okay, you got to fix that. That's a problem. That's a problem for your development. That's a problem when you communicate with
Hmm.
others. You got this edge around the way your tone, all the things, right? Yeah, check in. And being able to have someone that you trust enough that their words to you
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
truly to heal, not to hurt, even when it's hard to hear. Um, I think that is the
That right there.
that right there.
Because we tend to assume, and we're not
Mm,
supposed to assume. When you assume, you make an ass of yourself. Because one, you
at
ain't
all.
making no ass of
I
me.
hate that
I
word.
refuse. You're making an ass of yourself. So I have made it my business when I'm having certain conversations. Oh, that
Yeah,
was an assumption you
yeah,
made. So that's a you problem. Because
that
you
part.
can ask me anything. You can ask me anything. It is my choice of whether or not I'm going to answer or how I'm going to answer. But you can ask me anything. When you make assumptions, for instance, if you make an assumption that the reason I didn't answer, that it has something to do with you, it might not be something wrong with you. It might just be that's something that I'm still working through trying to figure out for myself. So my best bet is to be quiet because my thought process behind it might not be clear. So we got to be careful
Mm-hmm,
with that because I'm responsible
mm-hmm,
for the words that I say, right? I'm responsible. So if I haven't figured this shit out, I
mm-hmm,
shouldn't be speaking on it
mm-hmm.
because I don't know yet. On the other hand, if I do answer and you don't like the answer, That's also a
Yep.
you problem because that's my answer. It's my truth, and it
Hmm.
might not fit for you. So you can do one of two things. You can accept it or not. But at the end of the day, it changes
That's right.
nothing for me because I'm still going to be true to me
Hmm.
first. I am my own priority. I'm not responsible for anybody else. Me first. So that's something else that I learned in therapy and reading my different books. I think I'm not gonna say because I don't want to say it wrong, but I know I read it in a book and I also learned it through E5. We're not we're taught not to assume. You're not supposed to assume. You don't know what the full situation is. You just know from
Exactly.
your view.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Love this topic.
love it. Oh, all these topics, we can just dig so deep into them. There's so many aspects to
Hmm.
focus on. Let me see, because we went into self-abandonment. We did touch on moving kind of. Um, let's see. We talked about emotional abandonment. We talked about the wounds that come up, and we talked about self-abandonment. We touched on all of the. We touched on it all. We touched on it all. I know. I'm so proud of us. I was telling Ty at the beginning of this that when I sat down for prayer this morning, I asked my Ori to keep me focused, make sure that we stay on
Hmm.
schedule. And we
Hmm.
did. We stayed on schedule. I'm so proud of us. I'm so proud of us. Especially because y'all know I can ramble. But we have touched on it all. So we anyways, um, this ain't gonna be the last time we'll touch on this because I'm pretty sure something else will come up. As per usual, I always say that. But anyways, we thank y'all for listening. We appreciate y'all's support. We're thankful, grateful that what we're sharing has helped folks along their own journeys, helped them to look at things a little differently, or to address things that they didn't know weren't aware that needed to be addressed in their own lives. Hey, the purpose is to open the conversation, to help, to assist, to guide, to aid, whatever the reason is you have come across our podcast. Um, we're just grateful to be of service. We are on Spotify, we are on YouTube, we are on iHeartRadio, we are on Amazon Music and Audible. We have an IG page, we have a website, tjclpodcast.com. Listen, follow us, follow us, reach out to us, comment, share, like, subscribe, give give us the feedback. Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us what you're having, trouble uh, addressing. Maybe we have had an experience that we can share with you. Uh, we just want to be of help,
Yeah.
want to be of service. That's it. Just want to be of service. Again, we appreciate y'all. If I loves you, I love you. May you have a wonderful remaining of your week, month, year, life, whatever. Just be blessed, you guys. As always, thank you for joining. This journey called life continues, one conversation at a
So
time.
let's talk about it.